What?
Hey, welcome to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things that you might have missed in the first episode of Willow, and spoilers are ahead for that episode. So, Willow is a legacy sequel. That's a movie or a show that essentially reboots a franchise with younger characters, but still takes place in the same universe as its predecessor, similar to Ghostbusters Afterlife or Top Gun Maverick. But this TV series reminds me a lot more of another Lucasfilm production, The Force Awakens. Both feature characters speaking of the previous movie as if it was legend.
We all grew up on stories of your parents, how they rescued Laura Denon from Queen Bavmorda during the Battle of Nockmaar.
Luke Skywalker. I thought he was a myth.
The central characters of the previous movie are hidden until the last scene, and the characters go off on a quest to find them. And the new cast is made up of young, racially diverse people who tease a mysterious past.
I was the only one that survived.
Quiet, girl.
Both stories feature a legacy character who is a woman leading her people, while her rogue husband is off gallivanting across the land. And hell, one character even ends up having a hidden connection to the previous story. We have Kylo Ren and Dove. But most importantly, both Force Awakens and Willow recapture the spirit of their original stories. Like the movie, Willow the series has fights, heart, and humor.
Yeah, I just like the feel of velvet on my...
Even that.
People forget, the Willow movie is hilarious. Now, the show also has themes about running from your past and hiding away from your problems instead of confronting them, which I will talk about in just a bit. But first, let's get into some of those Easter eggs. The episode opens with a storybook opening, much like a classic Disney fairy tale. This sets the tone for the show, that it's a fairy tale fantasy, but also, hey, it's just a story and we're all here to have a good time. The book bears the same mark that is on Laura Denon's arm, implying that this is narrated from a future where she reigns as Empress and all is well. Now, notice that the book calls the entire first movie a prologue, setting us up for an even larger story that is more epic in scale. During the opening montage of the first film, the classic James Horner theme plays.
James Horner from Titanic? He did the score for Willow?
Yeah, man, Willow's awesome. Ron Howard, George Lucas, written by Bob Dolman.
The Senator?
No, that's Bob Dole.
Bob Dorman.
Hey, 90s politics, high five. And by the way, everyone, before I go any further, I just want to thank all of you for supporting our channel. It means a lot to us. And we have a big announcement. We now have our very first piece of Doug merch. This Christmas ornament where he has an antler like Max in The Grinch Who Stole Christmas.
That looks nothing like me.
Quiet, Doug. You can find that ornament at our merch partners at Zero Edition with the link in the description. And we have a new design on Zero Edition where we've decided to immortalize one of the most iconic scenes ever put on film. No, this is not a Star Wars shirt. Look closer.
What's it say?
Well, this actually recaps the story of one of my favorite holiday movies, When Harry Met Sally.
Yes! Yes!
Now you can find this shirt and our other merch at shopzeroedition.com. Each shirt is high quality fabric, fits great, and there are other awesome Zero Edition exclusives like the Genosha Community College or Power and Responsibility. Checking out our store is the best way you can support our channel and show your love for what we do. And we've worked hard with the team at Zero Edition to make this awesome shirt for all of you ScreenCrush fans. So be on the lookout for some more items coming soon. And be sure to tag us on Twitter when you buy your merch.
I do not approve of being commercialized in this way. Do not buy this ornament.
Alright, back to Willow. The opening is narrated by Saoirse, who seems to regret ever knowing madmartigan.
An impossibly conceited thief, liar, and rogue.
But the big reveal from the opening is that after the movie, Willow became a great sorcerer and had visions of an impending doom. We see several flashes that are probably the places he mentions at the end of the episode.
Who dwells in immemorial city that lies beyond the shattered sea.
But then the final shot is of a dusty armory with a sword leaning on a window. Now the sword looks a lot like the one madmartigan used in the movie, and an armory filled with cobwebs is a lot like the armory he found when they arrived in Tir Asleen in the movie. Now presumably the end of this vision means that Tir Asleen will have been at peace for years, but the children of madmartigan will be called upon to fight for their kingdom once more. Then we see a pair of Daikini hands locking away Cherlendria's wand. Another similarity to The Force Awakens, with Luke's lightsaber also being locked in a chest. So you'll remember that this is a magic wand that was given to Willow by a giant floating spirit head named Cherlendria. The last time we saw it, it was in the possession of the sorceress Raziel, and here it looks like it's being locked away by a pair of armored hands. My guess is this is Saoirse locking away all the magic from the land, but more on that in a bit. Then we go to two of our main characters having a sparring session. Kit is the daughter of Saoirse and madmartigan, and Jade is the red herring she is in love with.
What do you mean red herring? Like she's a fish person?
No, Doug. Look, all mysteries try to distract you with an obvious answer. In this case, when they start talking about Laura Denon, that's when Jade conveniently says that she was orphaned.
My family was headed to the Mother's Gate when we were attacked.
Also, she is played by Erin Kellyman from Solo and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so we kind of expect her to be the chosen one in this series. Anyways, Kit and Jade are both warriors, and Kit shares her father's wanderlust.
You know, going beyond the barrier, having these wild adventures.
The two of them return to Tir Asleen. Now, in the first movie, this was a cursed castle. Now, the movie ends with Saoirse, Madmartigan, and Raziel in charge of the revived castle. And now it looks a lot better than it did years ago. But notice how the little details have been recreated for the series, like the stone arch over the doorway and the castle's exterior.
Very cool.
Yes, it is. High five. And then we go to Kit's twin brother and Madmartigan's other child, Eric. So Madmartigan would have named his son after his friend who died in the movie's final battle. Now, much like his dad, the prince is kind of a womanizer. Remember that scene in Willow where Val Kilmer had to dress up as a lady to escape a husband that he had just cuckolded?
This is my husband, Lug.
Big husband.
So when Eric is talking to Dove, we're meant to think that this is a line.
You have this effect on me. It's just like nothing I've ever experienced before.
But after the episodes reveal that she is Elora Danan, maybe he means all of this. Maybe he's drawn to her because she is secretly special. So then there's a feast honoring the king of Galadorn. Galadorn is where Eric was from in the first movie, and they were the last forces to stand against Bavmorda's troops. In fact, General KL destroyed their castle off screen, so presumably they have rebuilt their kingdom and everything's going just fine. And this is where we meet Kit's betrothed, Graydon, played by Tony Revolori.
When I say penis, you say bunker. Penis!
Now, just before the banquet, the queen comes to see Borman in the dungeon. Now, he's kind of the new Madmartigan for the show. A rogue character who's fun, he's a great fighter, and he always seems to be in over his head.
Also like Han Solo.
Yes! Even though Borman is a prisoner, the queen still seeks his advice because he has been past the borders of their kingdom. He's the only person who has seen some of the evil that exists outside their lands. Also, like Madmartigan, he begins the story locked in a cage. So at the banquet, Jade breaks the news that she is going to leave to be a knight of Galadorn, which hits Kit pretty hard. In her mind, it's like Galadorn is taking away her love and giving her this kind of lame husband in return. So she throws a fit and tells a story about a princess from an ancient land called Kashmir. And she probably heard this story from her dad, who also mentioned the same kingdom in this scene in Willow.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Sorry, I meant this scene.
And I'm the king of Kashmir.
Then she basically tells the story of the movie Brave, where a princess fights for her own hand in marriage.
And I'll be shooting for my own hand.
If you could change your fate, would ya?
So after Kit's tantrum, she has a heart-to-heart with her mom, and she says,
And if you think I'm tough, you should have met mine.
Because remember, her mom was the evil Queen Bavmorda. Just as Kit is about to run away, we cut to Saoirse having prophetic dreams and hearing the voice of Willow.
It's begun.
Now, of course, dreams and visions played a big part in the original movie. There was a prophecy that Elora Danan would destroy Bavmorda and unite the lands, and that prophecy set the whole movie into motion. Hell, even Bavmorda's own seer saw her daughter's treachery.
I read the signs. One day, I fear, your daughter will betray you.
But prophecy is always tricky because we're not sure if these are visions of things that will definitely come to pass or things that may come to pass. Bavmorda tried to fight against prophecy in the first movie, and now Willow is trying to do the same thing, trying to prevent the evil that he saw in his visions. Now, it's interesting that Saoirse has inherited some of her mom's magical gifts. Maybe she even learned sorcery from Raziel over the years. Again, this is a lot like Leia, who kept her magical abilities mostly hidden in the sequel trilogy.
Except for that one time she flew like Mary Poppins in the vacuum of space.
Yeah.
I mean, what the hell is going on?
Then we meet the 4 henchmen villains called the Doom, the Scourge, the Dak, and the Lich. Like? L-I-C-H. Tell me how you think that's pronounced in the comments below. So shape-shifting tech really has come a long way since the first movie. And the villains send out an evil fog, not to be confused with the dreaded Scotch mist.
I think I know what did this. Scotch mist.
Saoirse awakens at the sound of the death dogs. That's these dogs in Halloween masks that we saw in the first movie. And then she picks up the same sword with the serrated edge that she used in the original film. We even hear the original Willow theme briefly when she steps into battle. Which is a nice touch because it plays as an echo of the original story, like we're seeing her relive those glory days. So when the fighting starts, Eric grabs a weapon and does the same sword flip that his dad liked to do all through the first movie.
Always relatively careful.
The 4 henchmen take their orders from a voice, who is probably the old crone that Willow talks about later on. The old crone might also be Bavmorda, who accidentally banished herself to another realm at the end of the first movie. Now, I mentioned earlier that a key part of Willow was the humor, and this show has some really solid gags.
I've known Eric since the day he was born, and he's as close to a son as I'll ever have. At least that I'm aware of.
There's also another gag here when Kit seems to call out the original movie's many similarities to The Lord of the Rings.
In that case, so is Graydon.
What now?
You know, I think we're good, fellowship-wise.
Which is calling back to this.
You shall be the fellowship
of the ring.
Sorsha tells Borman,
Not for a pardon, not for me, but to square a debt with an old friend.
so who is this old friend? My guess is Madmartigan. Val Kilmer is not appearing in this season of the show, probably because of his health problems, but he could possibly appear in season 2. Then Sorsha tells her daughter,
I believed if Elora Danan disappeared and we forbade magic, that perhaps we could keep evil out. Willow disagreed. He believed that eventually evil would find its way in, and when it did, magic would be the only thing that could save us.
which is cutting to the heart of the series, really. Sorsha wanted to hide the kingdom from its problems, to become isolationist. That's why Sherlindria and Raziel erected a magic wall between themselves and the outside world. They basically abandoned people like the Nelwynds who lived outside of that wall.
Like the wildlings north of the wall in Game of Thrones.
Good point, high five. I think Sorsha is going to see the consequences of her decision. By cutting herself off from all magic, she let evil magic thrive beyond her borders. And this is again similar to the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Luke cut himself off from the Force, and the New Republic ignored the First Order growing in the unknown regions until they were powerful enough to destroy the New Republic. So back to the show where they send their fellowship on a quest after Willow, which in hindsight is a neat reverse of the first movie, where it was Willow who was sent on a quest. Sorsha tells Kit that the bad guys wanted Eric because he has the blood of their grandmother, Bavmorda. So it is perhaps likely that they want to use his blood for some kind of resurrection spell to bring her back from the dead, basically reversing the blood magic that banished her away in the first place. And we get a tiny tease that the city captain has a bit of evil stuck inside of him from the poison of the henchman's blade, like we see here. Dove joins the party, and even though she can cook,
Wow.
they plan on leaving her behind. So she has decided to leave on her own.
Yeah, how come she can pass through the force field, but the others gotta use a gate?
Well, this is actually our first clue that she's really Elora Danan and that she's magical. The dust when she touches the field also looks like the brownie love potion dust from the first film. And look, really, we should have been able to guess her true identity the whole time. She's basically got the same origin as Sleeping Beauty. Evil Queen threatens her when she's a baby, she goes in hiding to protect her identity, and she does not even know who she actually is. In fact, royalty hiding out like a servant is also kind of like King Arthur as seen in The Sword and the Stone.
Hobbs is going to be Kay's squire.
Yes, sir.
And her true identity is probably why the kitchen maid wanted to keep her away from royal affairs.
I appreciate your affection for the prince, but these are serious matters, and I assure you, everything that can be done will be.
Anyways, when the main party arrives at the gate, they find it abandoned.
Where is everyone? They'd never abandon their post.
Now Graydon translates the writing on the wall.
The Eternal One. The healer of worlds.
So basically, the evil from the outside corrupts the guards here, a consequence of Sorsha trying to stymie the power of magic in her kingdom. By not allowing good magic, she does not protect people from the evil magic. Just reading this writing causes an earthquake that nearly kills Dove. And actually, her name is even appropriate because doves represent peace, and she is meant to bring peace to the entire realm. Once they reunite, they're attacked by the Bone Reavers, who dress like KL in the first film. Now maybe he was a Bone Reaver before he became a captain of Bavmorda's forces. There's a high-speed chase, classic Willow. And then they find the Nelwyn village from the first film, but now it's abandoned.
How do you know it's the same village?
Because they say so.
Are you sure this is the same village my mother was talking about?
It's the only village in the valley.
So did everybody die?
No, buddy, I don't think everybody died. My guess is that Willow sent everyone away into hiding for their own safety. Because look, if Kai is dead, then I will have words with this show, because this is still one of the sweetest moments I have ever seen in film.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Sorry, I meant this one. Willow outlines where they have to go in their quest.
Your brother's alive, a prisoner of the Withered Crone, who dwells in Immemorial City that lies beyond the Shattered Sea.
Which scares Borman. He says,
Princess, I've traveled all across the world and I've met some real magical Marvins, but I've never met anyone who crossed the Shattered Sea.
Who's a Marvin?
Well, Marvin is a variation of the name Merlin. It basically means wizard.
Oh, gotcha.
And then finally the Elora Danan reveal.
I'm nobody.
You are Elora Danan.
Now it's interesting that in the movie, Elora Danan seems to have an otherworldly intelligence.
Elora Danan has chosen you to be her guardian.
But over the years, she has forgotten that wisdom that she had as a baby. This is also a reflection of the kingdom, which was once very in touch with its magical heritage, but has now pushed all of the wonder out of its borders to provide itself with an illusion of safety. Well, those are all the Easter eggs we found, but if you found any, let us know in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe and smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.